Ah, ah, got it.
Okay, I think we are good to go. The timer, at least on my phone, it says 0, but it's coming up to 0 now on the computer as well. So let me just refresh this, and I think we should be live. I'll make sure that we are. Okay, looks like we are live and looks like someone's watching already. I think it's Giselle. Hey, Giselle, how's it going? Good to see you today as well. It's really awesome to see people checking in every day. It makes it worth doing everything that we're doing to give you some awesome training to help you build your own membership sites. Now, it's a little bit of change in scenery for me because it's too hot upstairs where I usually sit, so I'm trying this out and seeing if I can make it work. But having said that, I've got Jenna with me as always.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Jenna. So today's session is about building a membership site structure. I'm going to get started with it soon, but I just want to do a quick recap of the last two sessions that we did and make sure that you understand some of the key takeaways that you can take from that and implement, execute in your business as well. So on day one, we talked about my first niche, which is how do you find a market and then a sub-market that is optimum for what you're trying to do online. That was day one, and we discussed a lot of things, broke a lot of barriers, a lot of hurdles that people had about picking a niche. In fact, we had some people who said, I already had a niche in mind, and I was rethinking if in fact that was the right target audience to go after, or if I should approach it in a different way. So if you missed it, please do watch it because it's only available till this Sunday. After that, it becomes part of a paid product. On day two, which was yesterday, we talked about my first offer. We discussed the difference between a product and an offer and how to build an offer, how to price it so that it is optimum for you when you're selling it so you can make enough money, and at the same time, optimum for your buyers as well to get it off your hands and say, yes, I definitely want that. So yesterday was all about building your offer. Today is all about building your first membership site. Now, I'm not going to go into the technicalities of it today, but instead, I want to focus more on showing you how to structure your content, how to plan everything out using a beautiful worksheet that Jenna has created. So
Oh, thank you.
just no, it is pretty cool. I looked at it today because I asked Jenna, hey, can you share that with me so I can talk about it? And she did, and it was freaking awesome. So just let me know, everyone. Give me a very, very loud yes, and I'm gonna go and check comments on my phone because I don't have a second screen right now. Give me a big, loud yes if you are ready, and if you want us to just jump right in and share some more awesome things with you today. All right.
There we go.
Jenna, whenever you're ready, you can kind of talk some more and take it away from there.
Sure. So one of the hardest parts I think that I see people, one, they want to get lost in the tech stack. Before you even hit the tech stack, though, you can hire that aspect out, or you can easily watch a couple YouTube videos to learn how to use any of the tech associated with the particular platforms that you're trying to use. However, the content itself can be a lot to get bogged down in. And I find that a lot of people, they'll get stuck there. All this information is in their head and they're like, what do I build, right? And so one of the things I thought, and we might even kind of want to start with you, we were talking about the mind mapping. And I think before we even jump into what I was doing, it might be good to start with the mind mapping.
I think you are quite right there. And here's how I want to approach this. So whenever I build out a course, I use a mind map to do it. So a mind map is a simple way to get whatever's in your head and put it on a piece of paper or online. And I want to tell you a little bit of story, a little bit of background on why I started doing mind maps. So when I was back at school, I had a teacher. I was doing tuitions because, I really wanted to be good in academia. So I was doing extra tuitions on the side. And this teacher had a very unique style of teaching students. I had to learn literally 100 different formulas in chemistry, and it was really, really complex. And the way he told us everything was to use mind maps. So he would draw a big circle in the middle of the whiteboard, and then he would draw branches off of that and then sub branches off of that. Now, in my case, he wanted us to, I guess, at the end of the day, develop a photographic memory because he would ask us to redraw that mind map over and over and over again. But the good news for you is that you don't have to do it. I'm not as strict as my teacher was, so I'm going to keep it very, very simple for you. Instead of asking you to redraw the same thing over and over again, what I'm going to ask you is understand the bigger picture. Why is it that you're creating something that you want to offer as a membership site to your customers? And once you have that why, then I want you to sit down, spend half an hour, a couple of hours, even as much time as you can to plan out the entire content, to plan out the entire offer and not just the product. And again, remember, if you check back to the training yesterday, I talked a little bit about the difference between the product and the offer, and I'll go deep into that today as well. So having said all that, it's a bit of a monologue for now because I know I'm just talking for a few minutes, but I want to show you the mind map. All right,
Awesome. Let's get that.
cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna share my screen and make sure that everything works out perfectly. Cool. Jenna, can you see the mind map as well?
I can.
Great. Excellent.
Can
Now here's
everyone else see? Like, my phone is obviously slow because I've got all sorts of internet streaming here. Can everyone else see the screen?
yeah, wonder what happens if I play the live. Oh yeah, I can play that and see all the questions as well. Yep, perfect.
Okay,
Lewis
so
says
yeah, there we go.
that's good. Okay. Excellent. Wolfgang says yes as well. Does everyone use mind maps, by the way? Let me know if you do. Give me a quick yes if you do, no if you don't. I use a free application. It's called FreeMind. It's really easy to use, really simple. You don't need to overthink this. For me, the structure is just kind of laying everything that's in my head onto a screen and then start creating course and a membership site based on everything that I have laid out. So a lot of people use it. That's good. That's
Anybody else do it old school? I just lay it all out in paper or sticky notes.
I think those are good too. For me, I gotta say, Jen, I'm a little bit, I try and be eco-friendly where I can. So I don't like to print too much paper out and then write on it. But I fully agree. Like, I think if you can write, it's actually better than typing just because when you write something, it stays in your memory for longer. It's kind of clearer.
When we were trying to build some of the content, especially like the entire map of like a system that needs to be built for membership courses, it got to be so complicated that I kept on trying to do it on the computer, but it was easier to mind map it on sticky notes and then start putting the sticky notes where I would put them on the page.
Yeah, I do agree. That's a good idea. If you have a lot of space, I mean, so one of my home projects is going to be one day cover one of my walls in my room into a whiteboard. And that way, you know, when I have a kid, I can give him marker and say, that's your area, go crazy. And he can do whatever he wants there. But at least that way, when I have all these ideas, like you're saying, I can easily put them down somewhere instead of saying, okay, I got to go back to my computer and I have to open this file and edit it. For now, this works pretty well for me. But Jenna's right. If you can use some space and put a lot of sticky notes, you can move things around, right? That's usually how a lot of groups also structure their content. So when groups meet up, they think about how can everyone contribute ideas and we can create something big out of it. So they put this kind of like a 2x2, let's say, table on the wall, and they say, okay, on the whiteboard, they say, go stick the sticky notes up there. And people do that. For me, because I spend a little bit of time on computer, mind maps work really well. So let me show you how to think about structuring your course. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this live in front of you. And as an example, I'm going to take something that's common to both you and I, which in this case, of course, is my first 1,000. So if I go back to check the page, let me just go back here. If I go back to check the page, you'll remember that we have 5 days of live training. It starts with day one. We go into my first niche, my first offer, my first membership, my first 1,000, and then finally my first tribe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an analysis of why we came up with this structure and how to follow the same principles to define structure of your membership site as well. So here's the thing. Whenever you're building out a membership site, a course, for example, the very first thing you will have to do is introduction. That's a given. So even if people have bought something from you, they've already paid you money and everything is going well, you still want to reaffirm the idea that they made the right decision. You still want to make sure that people believe in your credibility, because if they don't, they're not going to consume what you give to them. They're going to say, this is BS. I don't know who this person is, so I'm not really going to listen to him or her. So what you need to do is create an introduction that continues to build that trust factor that you have with your audience. So what we did in case of My First Thousand is when we got on, we talked about the movement again. We talked about exactly what it is, what it represents to us, what it could represent to you as well. And then we one by one introduced all the panelists, all the people who were presenting it included, including Jenna, myself, Aiden, who again you're going to see most likely tomorrow, as well as we talked about Ryan Dice. So all of this was to reaffirm the ideas as to why you came here in the first place. So anything that you create as a membership site, the very first thing you need to focus on is the introduction. You need to make it very clear why someone is right there at that given time. What can they expect to learn from this? How is the course structured? So just, agenda and that sort of things. You don't need to record introduction as the first module. In fact, if anything, I recommend you to do introduction in the end, because once you know from start to finish exactly what the course contains, you can summarize it pretty well in a few minutes within the introduction section. So to me, introduction is the most important video because it sets the tone. If you do that wrong, you might as well get ready for a refund. But if you do that right, you're going to have people just jumping through all the hoops that you put in front of them to go through the entire course, to learn everything that you have to share with them. And I want to throw a little bit of statistic here at this point, because I have noticed from my own courses that I've created and even the courses that I've bought, typically only about 40 to 60% of people actually consume content that you create. And I want you to make it more consumable by following the strategies that I'm showing. And the very first one is to create a really good introduction. It doesn't need to be a monologue. You can switch from being on camera to being on screen. But once you do all of that, you will be able to hold better attention from your audience. All
No,
right?
absolutely. I agree. It's so much easier to write that introduction after it's all said and done.
Absolutely. So do the introduction at the end. It's like when you write a big essay, maybe it's been a while since you wrote one. If you want to write the introduction to that as well, you do that at the end, because by now you're very clear on what the intent of that essay is. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing, which is what confuses a lot of people, is how should I structure the course, right? Now, I've got a few very basic ideas, but like I said, I'm going to do this in front of you, and I'm going to show you exactly how we structured My First Thousand. So most of the time, and I mean 90% of the time, when I create a course, a membership site, and I sell it, it's based on the ideas that I have implemented myself in my business. It is a result of case studies. It's a result of past experience. So when I decided to do My First Thousand, I thought about why me? Why should I be the one to instruct you? And I looked at everything that I had done in the last 5 years, and I looked at all my numbers, I looked at all my experience, and I realized that I had created over time over 40 different courses in different sizes, sold them from anywhere between $7 to $997. And that's just courses alone. I'm not talking about coaching or anything else on top. And in the last 5 years, we ourselves have generated over $1 million with these courses. So I felt that I was the right person to teach you. But almost everything that I have done till date is born out of my own experience of doing it in the first place. For example, a few months ago, I ran a course called Run Crypto, where I taught people how to make cryptocurrencies as an affiliate. Instead of just making USD or euros or whatever other currency, how to make cryptocurrencies by promoting products. Now, I didn't just take an idea and create a course out of it. I actually went out there, tested it myself, got those results, and shared those results with people. And that way I had something to share with them, not just the results, but my story, my failures, my successes. So if you can teach from experience, that's the best way to teach. That's the first thing. If you can't teach from experience, in most cases, I would recommend partnering up with someone else who has the experience. But in certain cases, you can create, let's say, completely theoretical courses if you want to. Now, I don't recommend it because theoretical courses are difficult to sell, right? I'm talking about courses that go through this, what you need to know. I'm sure you've seen sites like eHow or Wikipedia, right? They give you a clear understanding of an idea. You can go in depth. You can read as much as you want. You can read as little as you want. But these websites give you a clear idea of how to do a specific thing or what you need to know about a specific thing. But here's the thing. A lot of that is based on theory. A lot of that is based on just ideas that people have had, and they think that it would work really well. So as a result of that, people who buy these courses or go to these websites, they don't really pay heed to it. They would rather learn from someone who's been there and done that,
I
right?
would say one alternative is you might be able to partner with someone who doesn't have the time or the want to build one, leverage their information, build it out, run it, market it, split the profits.
That's a very good idea as well. So interviewing people, for example. So I could walk up to someone who has, let's say, really good experience in teaching yoga, but they don't have time to teach yoga themselves. I could work with them, I could interview them, ask them all sorts of questions, and turn that into a course. In fact, there are companies out there that do custom courses for people that don't have the time or the energy to create one themselves. But just continuing on interviews, another set of course that I've seen, and that's quite common in the IM circle, the internet marketing circle, is, hey, I went to all these top experts who have created software products and I did interviews with them. So you can get access to all these 20 interviews for $20. Now, that might be okay, but the problem with that still is that all you're doing is you're giving people 20 random videos which just talk about the same topic. You're not extracting any more value out of these videos. Again, that sort of course is okay once in a while, but that should not be your staple crop. If you want to build a flagship course, if you want to build something that is truly yours, truly unique, then again, like I said, lead with results. And when you have results, all you need to do is show the steps that you took to get there. So steps for me, 1, 2, 3 is the fastest way to explain something. If someone asks me, well, how do you build and make money with a membership site? In short, I would break it into 3 steps. I would say research, build, and grow. Right? I would take those 3 steps and I would say research, build, and grow. That's all you need to do. You need to understand what your market is, and then I can go into detail. You need to understand what your market's all about. You need to create stuff, and when you've done that, you need to build a tribe to grow your membership site. So for me, anything, and that's just for simplicity, anything can be broken down into 3 steps, and you can take those 3 steps and go further in, and you can elaborate on them, that's fine. But when you start categorizing into threes, it just makes it really easy to explain the concept to someone else as well. When
I
you do
had someone
7
explain it like bowling balls. You have to take all the steps and treat them like bowling balls. People can't hold more than 3, and 3's pushing it.
True. Very true. So if you are doing, let's say, 7 steps, and I've gone through courses that say, here are the 7 steps you need to take. And I go to the first 2 and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm not even halfway there and I'm already tired, right? So it just seems, mentally, emotionally, it just seems like a really, really long road to take to get to a desired outcome. So what you should try and do is whatever complicated concept you have in mind, you should try and break it down into threes that you can explain in a very easy fashion. Now, I'm going to take a quick break and I'm going to go and answer some questions with Jenna. And then after that, I'll continue with this a little bit more.
I think one of the questions, and I didn't quite understand where they were going that, but if you have testimonials, and I think that's probably just proof that you've done it, leveraging that in the content.
Yep, I think so. What I have done in past is, let's say, this is how it works. If I have done a course, I usually start by recruiting beta students, especially if it's a big course. I recruit the beta students, I work with them, I make sure they have all the help that they need to get results. I help them get results, and then I can go to those beta students, do interviews with them, and turn that into a lesson in the course. Like look at what Jenna did to make her first $1,000. And that way it acts also as a proof of concept, and of course it adds value as a lesson in there. And of course, the more of these you can get, the better. But again, don't overfill it, because what you don't want is for someone to go through just 5 content videos and then 20 testimonial videos. So keep a balance there as well.
Yeah, and I had some questions. I don't necessarily see them here on the live thread, but after the fact, where people were asking, I do everything 1-to-1 now. So how can I translate that into a membership course? I mean, my answer was simply like, you do this every day, do it again to a camera versus a person.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the coolest trick that I saw, well, I don't want to call it trick because that cheapens it, but this person said, hey, I want to do a course and I want to do it live with you. And it's going to be, usually it's $3,000, but I'm going to give it to you for 1/3 of the price. But here's a caveat. It's a coaching. I'm going to record everything and I'm going to use these sessions as material for a membership site. And I said, sure, you know, I get 66% off. I'm happy to do that. So what this person did was that he would jump on a call with me once a week. For the first half an hour or so, he would present me something. And for the next half an hour, I could ask him questions. I could grill him basically about what he had presented, what I understood, what I didn't understand. And then he would take that 1 hour recording that he had, chop it up into two pieces. The first half an hour, again, he could chop it up further. And that's almost like pre-recorded training that he can put into a new module. And in the rest 30 minutes, he can either go through that content and create new lessons from it, or just have it available as a Q&A with one of his best students, right? So that way, when he released the course to public, he positioned me as his first ever student who has generated results with what he has taught. And I'm gonna, you know, people who buy that course will have the opportunity to listen to me talk, you know, dissect and criticize this course as well to know exactly how to implement it best in my business. So that's one way to position that as well.
No, I like that.
Good. Good. Again, I'm kind of looking at the questions, but really I'm missing my second screen because I think I probably missed something.
I think that for now is kind of Alejandro. Man, I'm terrible with names. He did mention that's what he's doing in his business. He's helping a friend and learning along the way.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of almost interning, right? So someone could come to me and say, hey, Neil, you know what? I don't have any, like, I'm really good at content marketing, but I've never taught it before. Is it okay if I do these calls with you once a week? I teach you what I know. And, you know, for the first half an hour, I teach you. For the second half hour, you can ask me questions or give me feedback. Is that a good deal? And sure, if I can learn from someone who's gotten results and they can take that material later on and turn that into a course that makes them money, why not? I get all the help I need for free and they get a course at the end of it that they can sell as well. So it's almost like a free internship. If I get results, it's a win-win. If I don't get results, well, they probably might not want to teach that to other people anyway. So that way they can try it out with me. And again, like I said, if it works, they can scale that up.
No, I like that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. But all of this, I mean, if you want to keep things simple, turn that into steps. Steps work really well. You know, if you do case studies as well, that's even better. So let's say if you tried out a new system, a new way to lose weight, or a new way to close deals as a realtor, if you can turn that into a system, a formulaic system that people can follow and implement at their own pace, in their own time, then it just becomes so much more easier to digest. So let's talk about my first house and I'll talk about how we came up with this. Now, there's a reason why we have 5 steps here instead of 3. That's because I wanted to make this a week-long course. So it was more of a strategic decision. What I didn't want to do is do a 3-day course and say, okay, bye, you know, that you've got a long weekend now to execute everything. No, I want your full attention for 5 full days, even if it's a Friday, even if you want to go out. No, I want you to sit there, listen to what I'm teaching because it could change your life. So for me, it was very much a strategic decision to break it down into 5 steps.
Well, I think we added traffic on there just outside of membership.
I think we did because it makes sense to, because a lot of people who even have great content, I mean, they know a lot of different things. They still feel like I can't do it because I don't know how to drive traffic. So I think to me, adding traffic, adding tribe there just made sense. What do you think, Jenna?
No, I agree because I know too many people who have entire systems built except awareness and traffic. And it's such a shame to see somebody put so much effort and sometimes so much money into building this stuff. And then they're like, oh, it just doesn't work. Memberships don't work. And I'm like, no, you didn't drive traffic.
They give up too quickly. I mean, they think that their content sucks. They think that their sales page sucks. Sure, some of it might, but most of the time when, like you said, you quiz them about, okay, how many people are seeing this every day? They say, well, 2 or 4. And that's just not a big enough number to make sales.
And and I can be just as bad. We had a sales trainer and consultant come into our own firm, and he was like, well, Jenna, when you sit down with an agency client, how many of those clients do you convert with that you actually physically sit down with? And I broke down the numbers, and he was like, okay, that you realize that's like 80%, right? I was like, okay. He's like, that's kind of cool. What if you had more appointments? I'm like, huh.
Exactly. So it could make all the difference to you. So in our case, we wanted to structure this as pain by number training. So we did it into 5 days. And even the 5 days, I wanted it to start from a very basic level and go all the way to the level where you're comfortable then executing. So here's the problem. Here's a mistake I've made in past with teaching how to build membership sites. In past, when I've talked about how to build membership sites, I've shown everything that I'm showing now, and I've shown the technical setup behind the scene as well, and I've said, now go do it. And people still don't. Because even if they have created something, or even if they want to create something, they feel that unless I can build a tribe, I can't do it. People find all sorts of reasons, all sorts of excuses to not do it. So I really hope, by the way, you're not one of those people, because otherwise both of us are wasting time. But I'm helping you overcome your biggest objection that you might have on day 5, which is, how do I drive traffic? How do I build a tribe? So for me, what I wanted to do was start from the very first step and go all the way till the end, where I get you results. My goal is to help you get to that $1,000 as quickly as possible and as steadily as possible as well. So in that case, the very first thing, and this is something Jenna and I discussed. I said, Jenna, I think most people have a market already in mind. And as soon as I said that, Jenna was like, well, hold on, stop. Remember back to the first call we had. And I did. And that was a light bulb moment for me. Right, Jenna?
But there are businesses making $50 million a year who cannot get this aspect down. No kidding. I have a client, $50 million a year, and their sales receded down to $35 million a year, and they didn't understand why. And we just simply took a look at it, and we're like, who are you talking to? Let's roll that back. Let's take a step back here.
So I had this problem as well myself again, which is why I went to Jenna and I said, Jenna, I'm trying everything I can, but I'm not able to hit, the kind of people I want. And she said, what kind of people do you want? And I didn't have a straight answer. So I said, okay, this is something we absolutely must include in the membership site system, because if I'm making that mistake myself, I'm sure other people are as well, right? So the very first thing, we opened up my first niche. And I know you might already have a niche in mind, but you still don't know if that's the right niche or not. So Jenna came up with this amazing worksheet that can help you go deep into the market that you're looking at, look at your competition, and understand whether or not that's the right market to be in.
Yep,
so
and I think the goal was trying to make it fast. I don't want anybody to get bogged down. This should not be even a whole day, much like a whole week. Just spend an hour on it really quick, zip through it. It should not take that long.
Exactly. So we decided that the very first thing we can do is address this to everyone, regardless of what level they're in, and ask them critically, do you have the right market? Do you have the right niche? And that's exactly what we did. We talked about how to, discover the pain points, how to approach those pain points. We discussed a few copy elements as well. I think that was on day 1, day 2. Mm-hmm. So that's how we came up with day 1. And we thought that would be the most basic thing we can teach everyone. Right. And then people who, and actually you will know this if you came to this session today, and if you came yesterday, and if you're here today as well, people who agree with what they're learning, people who see the value in it, keep coming back. Those people that, decided not to come today, they decided because they were like, oh no, I'm just going to try and do it myself. Even if this training is free, even if this training is good, I'm just going to try and figure it out myself, because, well, let's face it, usually quite a lot of men tend to do that. They're like, I can figure this out myself. I don't need help. I think it's a common problem with men, right? It's quite, my wife says that too, so that's quite.
and engineers and doctors and lawyers.
Exactly. Ralph says professional students like to learn and they're not really hungry. That's good. I think that's something about you, Jenna, because you always get hungry at the end of the sessions. But twice. But here's the thing.
Always hungry.
Well, twice. Like we've done 2 sessions so far. But here's the thing. Coming back to day 2 in this case. So day 2 was all about creating your offer, and that was about understanding what is it that you're going to sell. I'm not asking you to create your entire content outline. I just want you to feel inspired that you can do it, that you can come up with an idea that doesn't have to be the most brilliant idea you've ever had, but it's an idea that's worth selling. So yesterday was all about bringing you around to thinking that you do have great ideas, and I know you do. Like I said, if you're here today, I know you have good ideas, which is why you come back to learn more. And just reaffirming those thoughts in your head and making sure that you put that idea down on a piece of paper, you understand and realize what it is you're going to create, and then you move forward towards creating it.
No, absolutely. And just do it. So I had, so some of the questions aren't even in the Facebook group. We spent a lot of time, on Friday, we're going to be covering some LinkedIn traffic techniques that you can use that don't cost a thing and leverage that a lot to move people into this movement. So they're of course, they're asking me questions privately over there. But one of those was like, I just don't think I can create good enough content. I get lost in perfection. What would you say to those people?
You can. I mean, it's easy to feel that whatever you create has to be the best thing, otherwise you don't ship it out, right? We all have that issue where we feel that the work that I'm doing is a reflection of me, and if it's not the best work I've ever done, people are going to think that I'm not good enough. And here's the thing. In life, you're going to have everyone at one point or another criticizing you. You should not be that person doing that though to yourself. Like, let everyone else do that. Your only job is to get things done, and they can say whatever they want. I can tell you this, that if you finish something, the the endorphins that will be released from that, the excitement that you will get from that will be much more than someone telling you, hey, you created a good course, because you will know that in the limited time that you had, in the goals that you had set, you achieved everything, you accomplished everything, and you created what you could create. And still, trust me, when you put it in the hands of enough people, they are going to find value. So this mind map structure that I'm talking about, this is how I usually teach my courses, especially the lower ticket ones. I usually just whip up a quick mind map, takes me about half an hour to set up and an hour to talk about. And that's the fastest way to do it. I mean, is it the best way to present it? No. But is it really good content that people can execute and get results? Yes. So as long as you're giving people what they want, the delivery doesn't matter unless you're really doing it terribly. Like if you're just kind of fumbling with papers like, oh, let me see what I had to say, that is just bad. Then, might as well not do it. But as long as you can get stuff out there fast, that's all your goal should be, especially for the first couple of courses.
No, and I really liked how you were talking about, like, if you can get a volunteer and do it live with someone. And the reason I kind of say that is there are going to be people who don't completely understand your concepts and they're like, I don't know if I get that. Well, you can right there live further explain it, and it's like having a live market research study as you're teaching it to see where people are going to trip up.
Absolutely. Initially, we call them discovery calls. So if you're just doing a call with someone to understand whether or not you should create a course, that's a discovery call. But if you're doing a call with someone where you're not only discovering their pain points, but teaching them a solution to those pain points as well, you will instantly know if you're on the right track or not. So if you offer on a live call, one-on-one with someone, if you offer them a solution and they're like, this doesn't make any sense, then you will know it's not going to make sense to anyone. You need to approach it from a different angle, from a different positioning. And what I often tend to do in these one-on-one live calls is when I'm done with it, I tell people, okay, I've got 3 key takeaways that I think you should take from this. What do you think are your 3 key takeaways that you should take from this? And what they try and do is they jog their memory and they're like, okay, this is 1 thing, 2, and 3. And if my list and their list doesn't match, it's probably because I didn't do a good enough job emphasizing what I thought was the most important thing. So then I know my delivery could be done better to really focus on those 3 things that I know are going to make huge impact on someone's business.
That's interesting. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And, sometimes if they do come back with three different things that you didn't have on your list, maybe you are delivering more than you thought you were delivering. Maybe what you thought was a solution for them was just a side thing. What they actually discovered from that call with you was something entirely different. So that gives you another perspective into how your audience, how your customers are thinking.
No, that's great information. I like, because and that was actually in our sheets. I wanted to make sure everyone even did that in their course, was at the end, make sure like, here's the homework. Here's what, if you take nothing from this, do A, B, and C. And once that's done, go on and go and tell them what's next. Don't just say, oh, congrats on doing that. Like, they're just left there. Like, you need to herd the sheep and make sure they keep going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, if you are a teacher, your job is not just to teach, but help them pass. Your job is to make sure that you take them through past the finishing line. And then there's someone else's responsibility, hopefully. But that is your job. That's what these students signed up with you for. So make sure that you go above and beyond, because when you do, they will keep coming back to you. When next time you have something more advanced to sell, to offer, they'll be like, that's the person I want to learn from, because last time I did that, I got great results. So that's how you position yourself. So that was day 2. Day 3. So when I knew you had an offer in mind, what I wanted to do next is kind of write it down in detail, in depth, create a mind map of sorts, just like the one I showed you today. So my goal there was to help you establish, okay, if that's the bigger idea, how can you break it down into smaller ideas that you can use to explain what is otherwise a complicated thing? So me teaching you how to build and grow and sell, a membership site is a complicated thing. But if I can write it all down on a piece of paper, like Jenna said, or in a mind map, then I can simplify it to the point that I know exactly what I will be covering when. So a structure is very, very crucial. And that's something I wanted to teach on day 3, because if you don't have a structure, you can't build your content. And again, Jenna will talk a little bit about, how to create that content that you're building out, how to record it without too much technical hassle. So that was day 3. And when I knew that you now had a structure in place, I know the obvious next step is to put it somewhere. So that's what day 4, that's what tomorrow is all about. In a way, to me, that's what brings it all together, right? We started with discovering a market, discovering their pain points, building out an offer, and then laying it all out, creating the content. The next step, of course, is to piece it all together under one roof. Now, I have created courses in past within 4 hours. So I did this very interesting product creation. I did. Listen, Jenna, this is a really fun story. I mean, this is actually the best proof of concept I can show you. So about a year and a half ago, I wanted to challenge myself. My wife was going away for the weekend, and I thought, okay, you know what? I've got nothing better to do. I'm just going to create a course. So what I did is that I told people that I'm going to create a course in front of you, and I'm going to sell it in one weekend. So not only am I going to create the course, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to give you an insight into the entire process. So this was very, very intensive process. But what I did was I started a call at 7 a.m. Eastern on Saturday morning. I did this, live in front of everyone. I told them what I'm going to create. I researched pain points. I, didn't research my niche very well, but I did research the pain points of what I knew I wanted to go after. And I created a membership site structure. I created all the content. I put it all into Kyvio. And from 7 a.m. to about 3 p.m., all that was done. Like the entire course was created within a day.
That's really, wow.
It wasn't a long course. Like I said, it didn't have to be. I just wanted to prove that it can be done. And I didn't even have an audience for this. I wasn't going to email my list about this course because this course was not targeted to them. I created a course for entrepreneurs to show them how to build a software product, even if you're not technical yourself, right? So it was a very simple idea. And because I'm not very technical myself, I wanted to show to them how I do it. It was, again, my process. So I came up with the idea. It took me about 2 or 3 hours to map everything out. It took me about a couple of hours to stop and start and record everything, process all the videos, just put everything together into a membership site. In 8 hours, I was done.
That's insane. I did have kind of on that note, like when people are talking about trying to get something done incredibly quickly, Mitch mentioned he was brainstorming is a great way to do it. And on the plane, I was able to come up with 120 topics to cover in my class. To kind of go back to that plane aspect, we came up with a course. We took months to develop it on how entrepreneurs can best build a business plan that actually works for them. And we walked through people, like each Monday we would meet in the office and go through a different aspect and see where the bumps were and all this stuff. And I was still scratching my head. I was just like, you know, Jenna, this is not working. Like, nobody needs to spend 12 weeks on a business plan ever, ever, ever. And I was actually on the plane to traffic and conversion. And obviously on the plane, we had no internet at the time. So I don't know if my plane just sucked, or because now my sister's like, I fly all the time with Virgin and they have Wi-Fi. I had none, but I do have Evernote. And Evernote, when you pay for a premium, you have access to all your research. And I had that, and I started like, you know what, let me build a checklist. And before I got off the plane, I had this complete business plan checklist that anyone could go through. And it only took me about an hour to build, probably another hour because I'm a perfectionist and I had, you know, every block the right color, and, you know, add some links. And by the time I get off the plane in San Diego from Dallas, which by the way, technically I left at like 8:30 in the morning and I landed at like 8:20 in the morning. So technically it took me zero time. I gained time. But that ability to work offline, like go find a quiet hole with no internet and do that mind mapping, and the ability of how much work you can get done when there's no Facebook or LinkedIn or Chimes or kids or spouses, nothing, no more education, just get it done, is amazing.
It is. I mean, I met an author who said to me that when he wants to write a book, he books a flight from, I think he's in LA. So he flies from LA all the way to Japan. He books a first class seat for himself. I think it is LA, but it's like 14-hour flight. So he writes a book on the way and back. So he just, you know, he says, I cancel out everything that needs to be done. It's just, you know, me and writing. I don't eat a lot of food because, you know, he doesn't like flight food, but he just writes. And within that 28-hour return flight, he gets the entire book done.
Wow. And you get to travel. I've been meaning, I want to go to like the Philippines or China, maybe both. That would be a great flight for that.
That would be a great flight. Yeah, I mean, do it without the kids, though. Otherwise, you still won't get any work done.
There's no way I'm taking a 4 and a 6-year-old on a flight to China.
That's true. So I told you about day one. You know, I created the course, but here's the fun thing. I brought everyone back on day two. So at 7 a.m. in the morning, what I did was I wanted to now sell this. So I came up with a very quick strategy. I said, okay, I've got a lot of people on my profile. And by the way, you should not use your Facebook profile too much to sell. Facebook doesn't like it. They prefer if you use a fan page. But you know, it was a gray area. I wanted to play with it a bit just to see how much I can push the envelope. So I created a few messages that I could put as a post on my wall, and a follow-up message as well for everyone who comments. And we'll discuss the strategy a little bit more with Aiden on Friday. You know, he teaches it in a much more simpler manner now, but I executed it, and get this, within, you know, by about midday on Sunday, I had already made $500. By 5 p.m. on Sunday, you know, that's when I went to bed, I had made $1,089 with this one course. And I priced the course at $49 or so. I think there were part payments as well, 49 or 39. So I just tapped into the people that were easiest to reach out to, and I sold the course. And within a day itself, it did 1,089. And over the next week, when I didn't push it anymore, it did about $1,800 or so. And I gave away, because my goal was just to prove the concept. So everyone who was on the call, everyone who was really attentive, I was like, hey, you know, I told them beforehand that all I want you to do is I want you to do this yourself, and I want you to be there with me when I'm doing it. Otherwise, it's boring. So they were there, and I just gave away the money to 3 people.
That's a really cool idea. And, you know, one of the things you mentioned there, and that Giselle mentioned, is you have to let go of all your perfectionism there and just test the theory, right? Giselle actually said perfectionism is such a time sucker. We were out with Ryan Dice, and I don't know if you know him, but Billy Jean is marketing. He does all the crazy videos online. He was out there, and I asked him the question about videos and perfectionism, because he churns out videos all the time, and some of them are incredible. I mean, they've brought out entire production crews, there's CGI. They're really awesome. But he showed us one of his first ones that he used to, I want to say, close over 200 Orange Theory fitness studios for his agency. And he got in the people that were working in his office, and he created one that was really funny on a green background, so he could, put the background in that looked like Street Fighter. And I'm the perfectionist. I see like feet going out, out of the picture, just disappearing. And I'm like, how do you handle that? Like, how does your mind wrap around that perfectionism and let it go? He literally got on his knees and was like this, like, Jenny, you've got to let it go. It will kill your business. You will not make money if you get hung up on perfectionism. So when you're building this, I love some of these concepts that are coming out. Just freaking build it. You can charge less for it. You can give away the money to charity. Just build something and then build on it and build on it and build on it.
Exactly. I mean, one of my mentors, Colin Theriot, has this concept of, I think it comes from one of the presenters, Bill O'Reilly. He said live on camera, F it, do it live. F it, we'll do it live. Right. So the idea there is that he said, I'm so sick of, exactly, I'm so sick of waiting to get this done. Just screw it. I'm just going to do it right now in front of everyone. So what he taught me and what I do sometimes is that I would say that, I want to create this course and I still haven't prepared it, but I've got great ideas I want to share with you. And if you want access to this now, I want you to come and watch this live on a webinar so you can ask me all the questions you want as well. And I'm going to present you everything I know about this. Later on, I'm going to cut up this course into smaller pieces and then sell it for $99, but it can be yours for $49. So we get 100 people coming to one of these webinars. They've all paid $49, and I'm there for 2 hours. Again, I spend an hour structuring the course on the mind map. I'm there for 2 hours presenting the whole thing, and then I'm done. My team takes over. They chop up the entire video, put it into a membership site, and we send access to all these 100 people, and we are done. So I get paid $4,900 for about 3 hours of work. And then, that course becomes evergreen after that in the membership site.
That's really great way to build things, especially if you're just getting started and you're trying to test.
Yeah. And, that's, again, so if you find yourself, if you keep telling yourself, mañana, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow, I'm going to record a video tomorrow. I have those days too. I haven't shaved, and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like recording a video today. I'm just going to do it tomorrow. And when I have that feeling, I instantly flip the switch and I say, you know what? I'm going to do a live video right now. Just because I want to get over that hurdle. I want to get over that mindset that I have is that I can't do it right now because not everything is aligned, not everything is perfect. So once you start pushing the boundaries like this, you will be able to overcome that voice in your head that says not today because today is not the right day for you.
Yep. So I had the friend who got me into doing video and, learning to teach on, we used Facebook Live. He literally was in a hospital gown in an emergency room, was still jumping on Facebook Live and made $32 a minute while he was live. When average, of course, most of the sales come at one point in time. Of course, he had, I can't remember which software he was using, but one of these that, you can put addresses on the screen, Livewire, one of those. Now you can use BeLive, Zoom is here. There's lots of different options now, but $32 a minute in the hospital in a freaking gown.
Wow. Probably covered his bills from that, but that's awesome. That's fantastic. But I will say this. So when you are structuring your course, just think about the journey you want to take someone through. So when we constructed my first 1,000 outline, I wanted to think about what is the first thing people will expect and what's the last thing that they will expect. The last thing should be something that summarizes everything. And, for the first 4 days, we've taken them from here to there. And then on the 5th day, it should just take them there. It should just help them scale like crazy, which is why, when Janai and I discussed, we put traffic at the end because we wanted to make sure that when you are convinced that you can do it, then with the free traffic strategies, you're able to just scale it up to no end. So that's how we structured our course. And like I said, that's how I typically structure everything, at least put it on a mind map first. But the other thing that I wanted to add here as well, and I want to bring back the screen share for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to add is that there is, as I said before, a very clear difference between a product and an offer. So me just creating this training is a product. Me saying, it's a movement, of course, the entire concept, but me saying come and attend 5 live sessions is a course in itself. But how do you make it an offer? How do you make it something that is just completely irresistible? Well, Jenna came in and said, Neil, I can do worksheets and checklists. So we did that. Then we didn't do weekly emails in this case, but we are doing follow-up emails with everyone just to let them know, hey, the replay is ready if you want to go check it out. So we're doing that as well. We have a group and a community. We have this Facebook group that you are part of right now. We kind of have a group coaching in the sense that we are answering all the questions as and when they come. So we are taking all the questions, we are answering those. There is no one-on-one because that's just not scalable right now with the kind of time that we have to put in. So to me, if I had just said, okay, I'm going to come in for 5 days and deliver something for an hour each and that's it, we stop there, that to me is a product. But Jenna and I going above and beyond, delivering the worksheets, keeping you up to date on all the replays and everything, giving you permanent access to the course, giving you access to the community, that becomes an offer. And an offer is so much more irresistible. So when you are building a membership site, to me, that's just like the core thing that you have. But if you really want to make it recurring, if you really want to make it big, you have to go above and beyond that. And for that, again, you can go back to yesterday's session and look at more of what we talked about there.
And sometimes I think it's a matter of, if you want to understand, because I was trying to wrap my head around yesterday when you were talking about the difference between a product and an offer. When we offered our own membership, we had Business Growth Network, and we're like, hey, would you like to join? At that way, it's a product, right? We sat down with Marcus Murphy in the digital marketer offices, and he was doing a full LinkedIn training Tuesday before last, and working with us on the different aspects of our LinkedIn profile in depthly. And turned around, and I don't know how it just came to me. I'm sitting in the digital marketer office, and their mission is to double the size of 10,000 businesses. As an agency, I was like, I'm not trying to take on 10,000, but what I would like to do is take on 100, but I want to make a point to truly document. So they're just saying, oh, I want to document, or I want 10,000. They have no way of actually calculating that though. So it's a great goal, but there's no way to measure it. And I'm a big nerd, so I need to measure. So I was like, let's do 100. And I put that in my LinkedIn message, looking for 100 businesses to, in a documentable way, double the size of their business by the end of 2018. And you can start for $2. And everyone was like, I need to know about that. How can you do it for $2? So now you've started a conversation because people are interested in the offer, not the product. It's the end outcome that somebody is going to, in a measured way, help them double their business. And who doesn't want that? That's an offer. So that's how I kind of took what you were trying to explain anyway.
Exactly, and I'm shaking my head here in full agreement, because an offer makes people feel excited. A product makes them feel like, oh no, not another one, right? An offer is something that gets them to feel like, wow, this is it. A product is something that they feel like, oh, isn't it the same as the last product I saw a week ago? So that's the difference. What you offer beyond just the basic product is what makes your offer unique. Now, I'm quickly going to go to a question from Ralph. So Ralph's asking, what time period do you think is best ROI for a course? The time it would take an average person to consume the course. So it really depends, Ralph. I'll give you my example. So the courses I typically create, if it's an hour long, you really can watch it in an hour. Sometimes I go through someone else's course and I have this problem where I just can't listen to people at the normal pace when they talk. So I just 2x the audio and I listen to them then. And for me, I can consume, let's say, a 4-hour course in a couple of hours, stop and start and do it maybe in 3 hours, take some notes along the way as well. But consumption is one thing, execution is another. So a mistake that I have made in past, and again, this is, for me, this was a light bulb moment when I started working with Jenna. So the mistake that I made in past was that I would just create a course and put in a membership site and give it to people and say, hey, that's it, figure it out, implement, get results just like I did, which is good start, but it's not the best way to get them there. When you add worksheets, when you add checklists, when you add repetitive things that people can fill and they can make heads and tails out of everything that they're doing, that's when it really becomes something that they can consume. So when we talk about consumption not just comes from watching or listening to it, but it comes from execution. And whatever you're creating, you want to make sure that not only are you a good teacher in that you can explain a complex concept in a simple way, but you also are helping them execute. I wanted to see you're a good executioner. You don't need to be an executioner, but you need to make sure that you're helping people actually get things done.
It happens.
It happens. So again, getting things done, and I think Jen, I want to pass it back to you here because, like I said, you've opened my eyes in terms of all the beautiful checklists and worksheets that you're creating. I think it just amplifies the value that people are getting out of these sessions that we are doing.
Well, I mean, that's really good. I mean, we built the worksheets for the larger course, and I'm going through, and the whole idea behind that, the concept of that course was to make sure that people could implement, because every day we have people and I'm like, hey, you need to build, this story brain. Hey, you need a landing page. Hey, you need this. Hey, you need that. I tell them all the pieces they need, but no one ever builds it. They're like, oh, like you said, not today. So by building out a complete roadmap, like here are 30 days, and in 30 days, you're going to build your course and move on. You're going to build it and launch it. If it's a really big signature course, you're going to build the minimal viable aspects, the free offer, the entry point offer that's like the piece chipped off, and you can launch it, sell it, in a pre-launch, and then build it as you go. But having every single piece that you're going to need in a system, because I found so many people are like, oh, I need a membership course, and they build the membership course and then they stop. They don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to drive traffic. They're like, oh, you should just go join. And then, like you said, it becomes more of an offer, right? You should just go buy it. They never had the pieces all in place, all in one. So when we built it, it was a matter, okay, what do you have to have for a membership course, right? You, of course, have to have the actual application running it for you. You have to have your product that you're selling. You have to have the landing pages and the thank you pages, and then you need the ads in between, and then you need some kind of group where you can put them all at, and then you need to build it all, launch it all, and then you still have to come back and drive traffic to that, right? Do the Facebook Lives, go on LinkedIn, all these different aspects. So just kind of building it out, you've built the mind map, you have to build the rest of it. So if I'm going to build all the worksheets, it seemed like quite a shame. They were like, oh, we're going to talk online for 5 days. And I was like, how do I tell someone they need to niche if I can't show them the diagram? Like, the diagram is so helpful. I didn't want to just leave everyone who's doing this out in the wild to fend for themselves and draw it out. And let's see if I can pull it up. We even had some worksheets today. So if you
while you do that, I mean, go ahead, but I'm just going to answer a couple of questions quickly from Mitch and Ralph. So Mitch is asking, what do you think about gamification to incentivize people to complete a course? Definitely do it, Mitch, but don't let that stop you from publishing a course. So I've had these people who come to me in Kyvio, for example, and they say, oh, we want this badges, we want this certification levels, and we want, people to get these heart-shaped things when they do it. It's just too much. You don't need to make it that complicated. Once you see that people have that they have done a course, you can go back and check it. An assistant can check it every couple of days, and then just send them a thank you message if that is sufficient.
And
what
just
we have
to put on that can crash your membership site. So we were using membership, WPEP and Optimized Press and WPEP that's code as code. They came out with a badging system, and it locked down every single site we installed it on for all of our courses. And so the first day I just looked at it, I was like, I went to our host. We have solid state hosting, so we have great hosting. We were like, we need it faster, so we paid to get it faster. And even with all of these changes, those badging and certification systems just slowed it way down. So we just took them off. It was not worth knowing whether somebody had gone in and finished, because you can always come back. So we use Active Campaign a lot. You can take an Active Campaign form, you can take a Google form, install it at the bottom, in the what's next or, last steps section, and get feedback and know that someone's finished and be able to do something after that, send them something, send them a special email. It doesn't have to be this formalized badging system where you're like digital marketer giving official certification so people can get jobs. They're just going through a course. If you make it too complicated, that code that enables you to do that, to me, just slows everything down and makes it more difficult.
Exactly, and depending on the price point. So previously, when we have sold something for $997, if people have completed the course, we send them a thank you letter, and that could be an online letter. We send them a T-shirt, for example, and that's enough. I mean, even for people who are watching all these sessions, who execute what we talk about, come back to me in this group and say, Neil, I followed what you taught. We've done our first $1,000. Thank you so much. I'll get you on a call with me. I'll interview you, and I'll send you one of these T-shirts as a thank you for taking action. And again, you don't have to pay anything for that. So my point is that when you want people to consume, you want to make sure that you don't overcomplicate things for yourself or for them. Like the benefit of doing something is clear enough. The motivation should be intrinsic. And that also answers Ralph's question. Ralph's asking, should you focus any time on trying to motivate them to do the work? It should be intrinsic most of the time, but motivation can come in the form of, hey, make sure you do this quick quiz, make sure you mark your lesson complete, make sure if you have any question, you get in touch with me. And once in a while, you can have your assistant follow up with them, make sure that they're still on track, especially if it's a recurring membership. You don't need to go beyond that. You don't need to create daily live videos to make them feel excited about existing. That's not your job unless you are a life coach, in which case it is your job. But if you're just teaching them how to do basket weaving, you don't need to motivate them to do that every single day. Once in a while, just getting in touch with them is good enough.
And I would say to some extent, it depends on how much the course is. And, if you're trying, if you've already got your product built and you're trying to keep that recurring revenue, so especially in recurring revenue models, something as simple as like the weekly Q&As or weekly webinar series where you can do it just like Neil and I are doing now, where you can take and field those questions. If you can come back and show like little miniature case studies, so case studies don't have to be huge. Just inside of the Digital Marketer Elite program that Marcus is running for LinkedIn, we all went through and we posted our LinkedIn score. So LinkedIn apparently scores you. And we had one of the girls that's in there on a regular basis, and she started at like a 26 and she's at a 44 now. And on the other side, I was at a 76 and it's only out of 100 and mine's not moved an inch. And I have pushed LinkedIn to its limits the last week. So the ability to just come in here and say, hey, I saw that, Lynn was in here and she's doing it and she's doubled, where she was at from now. And let's just hop her on a call and see what she did. So if you can show how someone else made these itty bitty steps and they moved forward, I feel like that provides a lot of motivation. And the more that you can show other people who are going through your course that might be like the other people struggling, then those other people will jump back on.
Absolutely, that they will. Jenna, do you think we can now kind of show people how to do this over and over again without losing focus on the bigger goal?
Doing it over and over again.
So as in with the checklist, with the worksheets that you have, if you can show them that and walk them through that.
So Neil did great taking you through a mind map, and I didn't even think about that. Now I feel like I should build a worksheet for a mind map for the bigger course. But just inside here, so a lot of people are asking about how you literally structure your membership site. And of course, this is going to vary to some extent on which platform you're using. Because this is in conjunction with Kyvio, I obviously modeled it after that. But in addition to that, it's kind of whatever platform I've used, this is kind of generally the structure. What they call their modules or their lessons might be a little different. But the first thing you'll see up here is your overall membership name. And that's going to be like in Kyvio, that's going to be the very base level. If you're Kajabi, ClickFunnels, all of it, that's going to be the part that's literally in the URL when you're using the site information. So be thoughtful with your membership name. I do tell everyone, please don't use your name. Like if you want to be Tony Robbins and you want to go to 1 million people and just sell Tony Robbins products, that's great. The problem with naming it after yourself is it's really hard to sell. Tony Robbins can never sell Tony Robbins, right? I hope he has a kid that he can pass it down to, right? So being thoughtful with your overall membership name so that it includes, any product that you're able to include, it can kind of be all encompassing. The next one is going to be your actual product name. And this is going to depend on how you decide to structure your membership, whether it's a single product, whether it's multiple products inside of an overall membership site where people have access to all these little pieces. So for the sake of this one, we're just going to be referencing individual products. So they might be really long, they might be really short, depending if you're trying to build something just to get started, an introductory course, or if you're building a signature that's going to be really difficult. So coming up with a product name, and obviously these are worksheets. Don't feel like when you write something down that it has to be the end all be all. Write something down and move on. Hopefully you've done your mind map already and you can go on to this next step, and that part should be easy. The next one would be your modules. So if you'll see here on number 1 and down here at the at the bottom, it's a start here. I feel like every single product you have should have a start here. And as you know, Neil kind of discussed, it's that introductory, but it's letting people know, here's where I need you to start. And the best ones that I've seen are going to include a basic introduction about who you are, as Neil suggested. It's going to be that overall summary of what's included. I like when people include, you know, specific actionable items about like why you need this, what are your actionable takeaways, and then including the resources right up at the front. So as a personal user of membership products, I hate when I have to dig through lessons and modules and links all over the place to find the download I need. It's, you know, it's fine when you're going through it the first time, but especially if I'm referencing over and over again and you want to keep that recurring model, it needs to be easy for me to access the resources I'm just looking for. Like I just need that template so I can fill in my modules. I don't need to go click through 50 different places. I want to know that there's one spot I can go to, click the button, and boom, here's my templates, here's my slides, here's all anything that's not included in the videos. So putting all that right there in module 1, don't even worry about that one. That's the start here. And at the very end, a what's next. The reason for that is, again, if you only have one product, it becomes a little easier, like, oh, that was it, I'm done. However, even then, you're losing that opportunity. Yesterday, we discussed the idea of profit maximizers and making the most money per person. And this is not just trying to like wring out as much money from a person as possible. It's truly about helping those people get and solve the problems they're trying to achieve with your course in the first place. If you've been super helpful, if you've helped them to achieve the goals that they were looking to achieve, the natural next question is going to be, so that's great, I conquered that, what's next? You're their coach, you're their teacher. They've got that, they aced it, they're great, they made money, they learned how to swing a golf club, they lost 10 pounds. What's next? That's like the very simplest one. Then taking that mind map after you have those set 2 already done, and I have like 12 listed here, or actually I guess 13. You don't need that many. I just put lots of lines on the paper, so if you're doing a big course, it is available. Take that mind map and take all those steps, all the ways that you've grouped them, and put those in your modules. I mean, like the nice thing about pretty much most products I've seen on the market is that you can move these around. So if you decide when you're like sanity checking yourself at the very end that you think module 4 should come before module 2, that's fine. You can literally, on most products, take it and just drag it and move it. So don't worry about that, but take those groupings from your mind map and put them in the modules in the ways that best make sense. It's really hard, and I'll certainly take questions after, like if somebody has like how they should set up their modules and separate it on the highest level, but that's really going to depend specifically on what you're teaching. If my product is only teaching you about how to create a client avatar, I might section out my modules, one section or one module per section of client avatar, and go really deep into that in the different lessons under each one of those. If I'm building out how to build a complete marketing strategy for your business before you start building stuff, I might have 12 modules and only one of those is about a client avatar, and the different lessons below that are the different sections. So depends on how big or how little, but just being conscious of what kind of product you're building and just group them up here in the modules. Any questions there?
I mean, none yet. I'm still waiting, but I just want to comment here about the what's next thing. And again, that's another mistake that we were making time and time again till Jenna came along and she said, okay, this is your course, but what happens after people are done going through? And then I say, well, when they're done, they'll just kind of execute whatever I talked about at their own pace. But then that was a big place we were missing out. We didn't have what we call here a profit maximizer, which meant that we had the most amount of trust we could have because they have completed the entire course. They have gone through the entire training, spent maybe a few days to a week, and gone through everything. And then we're saying, okay, now you're on your own. But a quick way would be to maybe, and again, this is not about squeezing more money out of people, but a quick way might be, hey, how about if you want one-on-one help on executing this, you can book a session with me here if you get stuck with anything. Or if you want a more done for you system, here's a done for you system that you can implement for yourself. So that way, having a what next module makes it easy for you to continue building that relationship with your customer.
I like that. That's at the simplest level. Just letting them schedule a booking with you is an easy way to take them to the next step, whether it's in a private discussion, whether that's for free or paid. That's a pretty easy way. I like that one.
Yeah, and that way, I mean, even if it's free, you can get some feedback from them about what they thought about the course, what could be done better, what could be done differently. And when you do these free calls, you will find that a lot of people just open up to you. They tell you what their pain points are, and you're like, oh, cool, that's exactly the pain point that I can solve for you with this other thing that I have. Perfect.
There you go. And for those, a couple of you were asking where the worksheets are. I just went in and posted that link. It's a really ugly link from Facebook because I took it out of Neil and my conversation inside there. But it does work, which is at the end of the day what matters. Ralph was asking, do I build my courses with a lead in to the next product? I would say that depends. So anytime I build a course, I'm usually solving a particular problem, and it's going to depend. So in our business growth network, we started with one essential course that was how to build a vision for business owners, specifically for business owners. And it was with working with one of our partners where they wanted, because I cannot even build a marketing strategy for someone if they don't understand where they want to go and why they're going there. And it also included niching. And that really, we worked on that for like a year and a half to really get that, because it was such a crazy concept to pitch to entrepreneurs, because as I tell him all the time to David, nobody wakes up in the morning wanting a vision. So how do we sell it to entrepreneurs in a way that is meaningful for him? And going back, and I could even, how we decided what to build next after that even came from my struggles with David, just watching him just push back on all the information. I'm like, David, I cannot sell a course about visioning. No one wants a vision. Whereas when we broke it down, we took all the barriers that people were tripping at, we broke it down to 3 steps, kind of like Neil was discussing earlier, made it super simple, took out the hard part, took out the parts that made people cry. We saw people getting there more. And then once they have that vision, the natural next commentary from every single one of our members was, well, now what do I do with that? And David's like, oh, I'm going to help you connect the dots. I'm like, well, yeah, because what everyone can do is afford an expensive consultant. What are the basic dots everybody needs after they have a vision, assuming they're a business owner in a small kind of cap business owner? And the first one was, they need a business plan and they need a marketing strategy. Without those two, it starts to get a little haywire. So in that way, we took the feedback and we built the next steps. Going forward, that's probably a really great comment, is to go through and know that that's the next one. For Business Growth Network, for that particular product, it's a little different, because once they buy into Business Growth Network, they're in for all of them. The only other thing that we might do are live sessions, affiliate offers, that sort of thing. The idea is to just get more members, and the products are all in a monthly fee. The only upsell at this point is working in our office or actually becoming a partner. With our agency products, that's a little different, and we broke that down based on what our clients need again. So it depends. That's a great question, though. I'll have to think on that one.
It is, and I can kind of quickly jump in and say a couple of things as well. So if you are looking to build out a really big flagship course, what you can do then is I think my video is probably frozen right now, I can tell. I'll try and unfreeze that as well. But if you're building a really big flagship course, and what you can do after that is build smaller courses as well. That's solve one problem. And then after that, an obvious way is to say, hey, now that this problem is solved, let me solve some more. Go check out this big thing that we have. So if you have something like that, you can plan smaller courses around that topic. That is perfectly fine. But otherwise, if you are sensibly building all the courses to solve a set of problems for similar kind of people, like let's say in my case, let's say one of my courses about how to build funnels, the other is about how to build membership sites, the other is about how to write emails, and in a way they all kind of go with each other, right? So that way I can easily upsell people to that once they're done going through one course. But if I have another course about how to knit a sweater, I'm not going to be able to sell that after I teach people how to build a funnel, because there's no correlation between both of them. So just something to consider that as well.
And I would say, like, Ryan Dice is going to be here tomorrow, Ralph, and he would tell you the same thing. He found, and all the consultants kind of point to keeping things simple. So Amy Porterfield, her big thing with memberships was keeping it simple. Build one course, make it better, raise the price. Add on to that course, make it better, raise the price. So keeping that in cycle. And then Ryan specifically, he had several different products. He had the machine, he had perpetual traffic, he had, I don't know, so many different ones. And they did inside they had lab, there was like 62 execution plans. They had HQ with now 11 different, like I call them strategic plans. And now they're doing workshops and they have events. And what they found was that was too many products to sell. And every consultant on the planet is sitting there telling them, simplify, 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 and just change your audience. So they broke it down into DM Lab, which is all tactical, HQ, which is strategic, Elite, that includes both plus the courses, and then they have their big event, TNC. They also had two other events. They now only do TNC. They're just making TNC bigger. And instead of trying to do multiple events at different times in the year, they're just taking TNC and expanding it to different countries now. So the ability to, everyone's like, oh, I can just create another product. It might not be about creating another product. It might be taking the information that you've learned from your students, making that product better, and then turning around and doing another launch to a new audience.
Yep, I fully agree there. Absolutely. Right. And I'm excited about having Ryan Dice here tomorrow, by the way, just on that topic, because you brought it up. I'm really looking forward to us grilling him with some questions.
That should be interesting. All right, I'm going to kind of go back to that sheet. I think it's still up. So after modules, we have lessons. So module is like the overall one, and then breaking it down into your individual lessons. And we're still, if you'll see here, I still have an intro and I still have a conclusion. So this could all be, depending how you break it down. Of course, you don't need 15 lessons. It could be 3 lessons. The idea is putting similar like-minded information on each lesson. If there are videos, I do try to make sure that my lessons are broken down so that no one lesson has more than one video needed to teach that concept. Same thing with slides. If you need 258 slides, break those down. However you're teaching the course, break it down into chunks. Can somebody consume that section, that lesson, in about a 20-minute max 1 hour piece? And I would say 1 hour is the absolute max. I would say 1 hour per module if possible. So inside of those lessons, maybe you only have one worksheet, one audio, one set of slides, one video, however you're breaking it down, but make sure that it makes sense. If you took a bunch of questions and you broke it up, take all the questions that fit inside of a module, inside of a like-minded section, and each one of those questions can be a different lesson, but still introduce it and have a conclusion. Let's see if I had any questions.
I like this as well. I think so we tend to also keep every module under about half an hour. I think for me that's the limit, but an hour is pretty good as well. Anything over, and then people start feeling like they're going to come back to it another day, and that's when you lose them. When they're spending too much time looking at one particular page, just going through all the content, they feel like, well, maybe not today, I'll try it again tomorrow, I'll try and move forward then. So you don't want that.
I actually agree. Like 1 hour is just, it's a beating. But I also understand that there are some concepts that you can appreciate the entire hour's worth of content all at once. And that kind of does that, like, so digital marketer, for their example, their EPs are quick. You can zip through them in an entire hour, the entire thing. When you get to their HQ courses, which are very strategic, very comprehensive, and you're looking at telling a business over comprehensively, how do you understand and do, and here's all the swipe files, the worksheets, the information for all of email marketing. There's just no other way. Like, people ask, are like, oh, how long is it going to take me? That's always the question. How long is this going to take me? And I'm like, man, I finished it in a day. That's a long day though. That's like a 7-8 hour day. And my brain, I have the capacity to go through the information, and I love the information, so I can do that. Other people are like, yeah, it took me a month. When I get my employees to go through the training, because we insist that all of our employees have these certifications, have this background information, I had one person, it took them a year to go through all 11. It's just how different people take on information. So be mindful of, again, going back to your customer avatar, your niche. What does that person want, and how do they consume information? And this is probably, I think, the most helpful worksheet is inside of your lesson. It's kind of your to-do list. Like, go ahead up here and write down, which module number and what lesson number you're working on, because you might need to print this one out several times for each one of your different lessons. But what kind of content do you need to create? Use the right-hand side. I found a misspelling. What are the different types of content? I just kind of gave some of the more popular ones. We have text, images, video, PDF downloads like the ones you're looking at, audio files. Audio doesn't have to be fancy, but if you can take what you've done for a video and strip it down to just audio so people can listen in the car, that's always a great resource. Any other additional links to resources, websites, Facebook pages, videos that you can, like Neil could in theory link back to the video we're doing now. Any kind of, I said doc sheet and slide, these are associated with Google Docs because they're very universal to all platforms, whether it's Mac or it's PC in all countries. The ability to let people have those kind of templates, lesson slides, people always want the slides. I don't know why. They're never going to go through them, but they want the slides. Case studies, quizzes, examples, swipe copies, checklists, any of those. Think about what it takes to build your individual lesson, to teach that individual concept that you have written down in that lesson plan. What do you need to convey the message? And we don't need to think of all the things you could include. What are the minimal viable pieces you need to convey the question? Check those down, and then just kind of order it out over there on the left for your content. And you can see there's check boxes everywhere. Is it done? Take all of these sheets, print one sheet out. Let's go back up to the top. Print this one out, fill it out for your entire membership product. Come back here and print one of these out for each individual module on the previous page. And then on this one, you're going to have a ton of these. Print one out for every single lesson for all of your modules. Get a binder, put some holes in it, stick it in there, and get it done.
That is incredible, Jenna. I have to say that I've never really seen anyone breaking down how to structure, how to go through things in such a way. I mean, even my mind map method, it's good, but it's not succinct. It's not something that people can really feel that they're doing it. Like you said about printing it out, binding it together. I like that because that really makes your membership site real, right? And even when you're selling it, by the way, this is a really cool idea now, but even when you're selling it, what you can do is you can print a beautiful cover and you can say, who would like access to all of this? Like everything that I have in my hand right now, it's just a few pages, but who would like all of this in easily digestible video format with worksheets and checklists, like everything I have here. And that becomes an asset for you. I mean, I've seen people like Scott Oldford, I think his name is, he prints out all these things that he's teaching and binds them together. And his entire Facebook ad video is just him going through this page by page. I'm like,
he
what is that?
He also has an ad because inside of Facebook ads, you can't have a lot of text on the image. Now they can even check the video to see if it has a lot of text, like if there's a piece of text that's just sitting there. So one of his ads, and it's now copied all over Facebook ads, is he has the worksheets and it's just scrolling up. So no one word stays on there for long, but it's just scrolling up as he's like going through it and talking about it really quick. And it's almost like if you sit down in your car and the car next to you moves, and for a hot second you think your car is moving. It does that to your feed. It catches your eye, and it shows you there's templates, so it feels more tangible, which is a big digital marketer concept. If you're on a sales page, making something look like a book, or showing the actual templates, it makes it feel real when you're selling it. But the reason I wanted to lay it out this way is I actually love the mind map, because I felt like there was a missing piece before the module setup. And I think that mind map kind of is an easy way to even start grouping those pieces. But the ability to put them all in a notebook and say, this is what I have to get done. Here's what I need. And I was working with Rayanne Kane, who's actually at a conference right now, so she couldn't be here live. But she's like, how do I even get through all of this? And so this is kind of what we essentially broke down for her, so that she could go through a Microsoft Word document, build out all of her contents, no internet, just Microsoft Word, and get it done. That way, I was like, if you list it out here this way, and then you can hand it to me and we'll build it out for you.
Wow. I really, like I said, I think it's a brilliant concept of printing stuff out, turning it into something that you look at every day and you're like, yep, I'm going to accomplish these 3 pages today, or these 4 pages, and you just get it done. So I like it. I think, Jenna, if you look at the comments as well, the feedback that we're getting from everyone is that this is one of the best things that they've seen since sliced bread. At least that's what I've seen. I think it's pretty good. I like it.
And of course, I've got Mandy over here. He's very familiar with the digital marketer products. He did DMHQ in 14 days, all 9 certifications. There's now 11, so you've got a few more to do. But that's actually really amazing. Having gone through like analytics and some of the more difficult ones, email was a beating. But that's a great example. There's going to be people who take a year to do the exact same content, and there's going to be someone like Mandy who just flies through it. And that's a great example. Mandy then is an example of your best customer. What are you going to do for that person to make it more real? Are you going to help them implement? Are you going to give them coaching? What is the next step for them becomes really critical. And it's the difference between you growing your business and not, if you can reach out to those people and really help them.
Very true. Very, very true. And I like it. I really like it. So I think I just want to make sure we circle back to this and just summarize it here today, because I think what we've shared today could essentially put you on that path to getting things done faster. I mean, we've talked about fast action. We've talked about, very concise action that helps you get an outcome, a result. And one key thing I want you to take away from this today is that you can do it. Others have done before you. I mean, you've got people like Mandy who can go through a lot of courses in about 14 days. You've got someone like me who can create and sell something in a weekend and make about $2,000 from it. And you've got someone like Jenna who's showcasing you the steps that you can follow over and over again, the things that you can print out and make it look so much more visual, make it feel so much more real. So if you go back to this from the beginning and if you watch it again, take down notes, I feel you're going to relearn a lot of things that you didn't even thought were possible before.
No, I definitely, and I think that probably separates a lot of the people like Mandy who go through it really quickly, and my guy Ray who took forever doing it, is, one of the things, even when we go through the DMHQ courses that are really large, is I want to implement while I'm going through it. And so there are going to be people that do that too, and having those worksheets available when possible, or even some sketching, I think that's going to make a big difference. But to kind of wrap it up, at the Monday we discussed a lot of it was just niching, right? And starting to come up with some words for your offer. And I wanted to include that worksheet because I feel like people get stuck on that copy. But if you have your niche and you've kind of tested the theory, it's going to be profitable, and you can start working on it and building that copy around your offer, and then turn around and, as we discussed yesterday, think about how you're going to group it. How are you going to bring people into that lead magnet? How are you going to sell them on something small or a trial? How are you going to position your core offer and add profit maximizers. And of course, don't get hung up on profit maximizers. That's kind of at the end of when you get everything built. But think about it. And then actually, like we showed you today, go ahead and map it all out now, and then revisit that copy sheet and start making bullets for some of these overall modules and that product that you're building, so that when we get tomorrow and Friday, you can create a mini, a landing page with something for free offer or something basic and start driving traffic on Friday. You don't have to have the course ready. You can just put something together to build that list so you have an audience or a community. It can even be a Facebook group, Slack channel, the LinkedIn groups, but start building the community and they will give you the questions. You can pull, like we discussed today, interviewing somebody to get some of the content and giving them the free content, getting the feedback, create that course. For anybody who doesn't have something live and actionable at the end of Friday, that's on you. That's harsh, but that's on you.
I agree. I mean, the thing is that with everything that we've shared today, with everything that we've been sharing for the last 2 days, it should be very easy for you to kind of now just move forward and get it done, to move forward, have a plan of action. And, you can ask if you don't have a plan of action, just put in the comments and we can help you, just kind of guide you, structure something. But by Friday, if you feel that and again, this might sound a little bit arrogant, but if you have gone through all the 5 days and you feel I still can't do it, I'm really not sure when you can. And again, I don't mean to sound arrogant here, I don't want to be dismissive, but if after all these days you feel like this is still not for me, then this really is not for you. Don't go and watch another training on how to build products again, because it's going to be more or less the same, but maybe with a few less things, no worksheets for sure. And I just want people to take action. I mean, like I said, I've got about 100 different t-shirts sitting here with me that I want to send to you, and I can only send it to you if you hit your $1,000. Because I don't know if you see it actually says my $1,000 graduate, right? So you got to be a graduate to get these t-shirts. These are not for all the Facebook group members. This is for only people who execute what we're talking about, get success, and share that success with the community, because it's all about sharing. Remember, this is a movement. It doesn't go anywhere if you don't move. It doesn't go anywhere if you don't share what you're doing, what's working and what's not working. So make sure that within this group, you make yourself count.
That's interesting. So I know I had my web developer switching over, doing the tech stuff, switching over like the C name and mapping it out for Rayanne this morning. One of the things that I know that people are going to say, but I don't understand the tech. The tech always becomes a problem, right? Please understand when it comes now, it's so democratized. You don't have to code one piece of code to create a membership site at this point. None. I mean, there's several platforms available, whether it's webinars or it's, live chats. There's always some way to do it. And even these protected membership sites are not difficult. So I think, and there's one day, I'm much positive what one day it'll be, but we can probably even hop on a live, I don't want to call it a call, it'll be a live Facebook, and you can just watch me build Rayanne's out, because I know she has her content out. I already know what her modules are, her lessons, and you can see how easy it is to build. And she's got videos that we recorded right here in the office. Again, not hard, inexpensive microphone. She did use an actual camera set up. I've seen them. We've done it with our iPhone before, so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to buy like some $10,000 fancy video camera. Very simple systems, and we can build it out on a live call, and I'll put my phone up so I can answer questions as we go.
Yep, I think that's quite reasonable. Almost sounds like a bit of a boot camp again. But tech doesn't need to be difficult these days. Like Jenna's saying, it is so easy to just bring everything together. What you have to do is you bring in the content, and everything else will be easy to put together after you're done with that. And I think, Jenna, tomorrow we're going to talk more about tech. So I think tomorrow we're going to kind of bring it all together, as it were. So, after all this today that we've discussed, you should already have ideas about what kind of content you want to create. And ideally, if not by tomorrow, you should soon start creating that content as well. In fact, I'd be amazed if someone comes in tomorrow and says, I've already done like 2 modules or 3 modules of my next course. I mean, nothing would make me happier. So if you're listening, make sure that you come in tomorrow and say, hey, I've already done 3 modules. What's next? And we'll tell you what's next. But I'll tell you this, We will focus on tech tomorrow. Of course, I'm going to show you what we have and what we use. If it's a fit, I'm going to make you an offer, right? Let me be very clear on that. What Jenna and I've been discussing, what we've been going through for the last 2 days today, and what we'll talk about over the next 2 days are things that will potentially change your life. But if you want us to help you do it faster and with certain assurance that we'll be there for you, we've got something tomorrow that you can enroll in and you can make sure that we lead you all the way to success, right? So if you want more one-on-one attention from me, if you want me and Jenna to be there with you beyond these calls, I think we can do something about helping you there, but that comes tomorrow. Now, also tomorrow, we're bringing in Ryan Dice. And Jenna, maybe you want to just talk about how that's going to go, because we really need everyone involved in that session. Because what I don't want is Ryan to come in and be like, oh, only 20 people here live. That's not good enough. I'm not doing it again. I don't want that. So I want everyone to come in tomorrow, but Jenna's going to give you an idea how it's going to go down tomorrow.
So tomorrow, I know that we'll be giving you a lot of value on the tech. I have a couple more worksheets for you to kind of help you along with that. But kind of just showing you that it's not as difficult as it needs to be. And it's kind of a follow-up. I have several videos I think I've kind of already put together where if you've got some questions, I can show you how we built it through. And I have a habit, if I'm frustrated with something, you hear about it on the video and it's not kind. So all those are there and it'll show you exactly how to do different tech pieces. I'm quite familiar with most. I can't remember his name right now. I was talking to someone on LinkedIn during the live call. He said he'd hop over here, but there's so many different platforms. I'm pretty experienced in most of them at this point. Whether I love them or hate them now is a different question altogether. As far as Ryan coming on, I have promised Ryan that it is going to be a question and answer type period, that I will not make him put together a whole separate presentation, just so that, he's kind of a busy guy getting billed out at $20,000 a day. So if y'all could do me a great big favor and show up tomorrow live, and also bring your questions, whether you put them down in the comments below today or you put them in is it up tomorrow? Like you kind of been doing like a post that's done preemptively where it shows where the live one is going to be?
It's not up yet, but I can push it right now.
Okay, so Neil will put that up, and actually let's put the questions there because that'll be easier for me to go through and have all the questions that we want to ask Ryan right there. The other aspect behind that is I already know like all of Ryan's stories. I'll be the first one to say Ryan's best stories are impromptu. So the best information he ever gives are always going to be in these interview styles. It's the stuff, the other stuff he scripts out and he says over and over again. And there's probably a smart reason for that, but the best tidbits you're ever going to get for him are on an interview. So if you can put your specific questions together in the comment section of tomorrow's live broadcast, we can ask him there. And to kind of give you some feedback for those who don't understand, Ryan, we kind of threw out some numbers. He has over 12,000 members in just DM Lab, and I'm actually only pulling that from his Facebook group. And I happen to know he has a ton of members who do not ever join the Facebook group, which is crazy to me, but they don't. And we just pulled and multiplied that number by 38, which is the cost of Lab, to come up with just under $500,000 in recurring revenue each month. Did not factor in his elite member, did not elite membership group. We did not factor in HQ. And I think there's like over 600 people just from Uber inside of HQ. So that's a whole other membership in itself. And didn't even include the partnership, which is anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a year. Did not include War Room, which is limited to 100 people each year, pretty much maxes out, and is $25,000 to $30,000 a year. So if anybody has any insight on what it means to build an audience, to build a brand, raving fans, a cult, charge them monthly, and they're happy about it, it's going to be him and his team. So ask away any questions that by some chance he doesn't know the answer to, because they're at this point his team does run a lot of stuff. I will run back, find the answer, and bring it back to you. So the best thing you can do is just bring your questions. Just load me up.
And Jenna, just so you know, I can't do a live video setup just yet. I'll do it right after this call because we are already in one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Jazz to see tomorrow. Another great session. The site will be the easy part. I need to write the content firstly and get it together. Go ahead and outline it, Karina. Outline it first, and then all of a sudden the content seems a lot easier. And build it without the internet. Don't feel like you have to actually structure it in your membership site platform. You get bogged down there. Build it offline first. Film your videos and just merely upload them to YouTube. And if you have everything outlined, you've built it in a Word doc, you put where you need the videos, it's really easy to turn around and upload it into the application.
Absolutely. And before I forget, we do still have a ticket to give away for today. We did give away one on Monday, on Tuesday, and today is day 3. And I've got all the emails, by the way, like I've said before. Anyone who either opted in on the Join the Movement page, or anyone who put in their email address when they joined this Facebook group, I automatically have your email. Everything is in here, and I'm going to run this. So I think again, we've got a few more people coming in. I've got about, all things considered, 800 or so emails. So we're going to run this again. We're going to pick a third person to win tickets to Traffic and Conversion Summit. So hey, could be you. If it is, just shout out, let me know, and we'll get you your ticket very soon. So let's go ahead and drum roll. Pick a random winner, and let's see who is the winner today. So Matthew Mania M. Cott, congratulations. You get to fly. We basically get to take you to Traffic and Conversion Summit 2019 in San Diego. Just make yourself known. Make sure that we can give you this ticket in good time. If you're too late, we won't be able to. So as soon as you can, contact our support desk. Just shout out to me in the group, and I'll give you the link to contact them, and we'll get you that ticket. All right.
Awesome. Congrats to Matthew.
Awesome. And Matthew, I'm looking forward to seeing you in San Diego, because I'm going to head there as well with Stephen in February next year.
Be good to have everyone out there. That should be a fun evening. We have to get together one night and network and talk.
We absolutely should. So I think that's it for today. I made another post to understand what your key takeaways from today's session were as well. Make sure that you're there tomorrow for the session with Ryan. So again, we're going to start at 3 p.m. Eastern sharp. Like I said, I'll show you the technology that we've created, that we use, and we recommend to everyone. And if you want the opportunity to work with me, work with Jenna, to get one-on-one help, more handheld help, then we'll give you everything that you need to get that done.
There you go. Thanks, Neil.
All right. Thanks, Jenna. Everyone, have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.